All right, good evening everybody, and welcome to the webinar on Manage an Operational Plan. For the purpose of this webinar this evening, Adam and I will be presenting an assessment support workshop for the last, for the three final assessment tasks for Manage an Operational Plan. The last couple of weeks what we've been doing is we've been reviewing some of the learning activities. So last week we did plan and manage resource acquisition and monitor and review operational performance, and the week before that we did develop operational plans. So tonight is the last instalment for manage an operational plan, and so essentially by the end of the session tonight you'll have all the information that you need to be able to work through all of the learning activities and all three of the assessment tasks that accompany this particular unit of competency. So that's pretty much where Adam and I are kind of moving towards this evening. So real focus on those last three assessment tasks. The first two assessment tasks, as you'll see when we start to open them, are probably more so a series of questions leading on to the very final assessment task, which is a little bit more detailed in what its requirements are. But, you know, hopefully you'll find some of the questions quite relatable, and also some of the questions that we covered tonight in the assessment tasks we have discussed in previous webinars. So don't forget that those webinars are always available to you guys, so make sure you're kind of keeping up to date with what's happening in those previous webinars, because they definitely will help you with answering these three assessment tasks tonight.
Sounds good to me.
Lovely. Okay, well, Adam, do you have anything else to add, or shall we just...
Now, I guess a bit of housekeeping for students. This is the sixth subject that's being presented, and this is the last webinar for the sixth subject. Next week, management students be aware that there's two subjects that will be presented for all management students from next week, and I believe they're going to be running on Tuesdays and Wednesday nights. We'll confirm that. We'll confirm that with you guys shortly. Okay. But so next Tuesday, depending on this stage, we'll confirm that by text. But continuous improvement will be run for the next 3 Tuesday nights, and business documents is the final subject for management students, which looks at this stage to be run on Wednesday nights for the next 3 weeks. So in 3 weeks' time, we will have completed all webinars for Diploma of Management, and we expect that students are roughly around the same point that we are with your progress. So time is starting to become of the essence for the majority of our current students here, Alyssa.
Yep, absolutely.
So, for those that are working closely with Alyssa and I, keep up the great work. There are a lot of students that are communicating regularly, daily with us. That's fantastic. The students that are getting most of our attention are the ones that are actually doing work at the moment. So if you're not hearing from us a lot, part of the reason is that you haven't been submitting a lot of work. So guys, please jump on board, submit. You'll find that Alyssa and I are super, super helpful. We really love getting in there and working with you guys, but you know, we have to put our time and resources towards those that are actually completing work as well. So thanks very much to those that are doing work. Those that need to up it a little bit, communicate with us as much as you need, and we'll get you across a line in 3 weeks' time. All of the sessions will be recorded and there. If there's any sessions that you can't access, then just message Alyssa and I. We're just in the process of fixing up a few audio glitches and then re-uploading files, but in the meantime we can actually share them with you via Dropbox. So just let us know if you have any webinars missing that you need to access. Just let us know. And shall we jump on to the first assessment task? Actually, the first couple are quite easy, which we'll show you, and the third one is also a nice one too. So
I'm just opening up that very first assessment task, and hopefully everybody will be able to see the 3 questions that are, that are actually outlined in front of me. So as you can see, you've got, this is your very first assessment task for Manage an Operational Plan, and it is quite simply a series of 3 different questions. Adam, I'll maybe read one question out at a time, and then we'll discuss each one, or would you prefer to read all 3 out? What's best?
Look, you can just read one at a time, or we'll go through each of the, because there's clearly 3 points there on the screen the guys can see. Sometimes we don't have those numberings for students, but because they're there, let's just talk about each section. So let's look at the first one.
Absolutely.
The first one says, list some of the details outlined in an operational plan.
Yeah.
So again, remember the wordings here are always important. We're only after a listing here, and we're asking you guys to put in or just list what an operational plan will contain.
Yeah.
So if you can finish this sentence, an operational plan will contain the following. We're looking for a minimum of how many here?
I think we said a no negotiate. We definitely need. There's 3 areas that we definitely need you to definitely identify. So I think we talked about having at least 5 different 5 different areas that you do need to cover in an operational plan. And Adam and I, we've talked about some of the areas quite extensively over the last couple of weeks. So there are 3 areas that we kind of have been referring to quite a lot over the last few webinars.
Yeah, the whole subject is about an operational plan, so all of the learning materials will give you some info on that. We just want you to list 5. There are 3 non-negotiables for us. If you don't identify those 3 that we're looking for per se, then we'll ask you to try and add a few more. So yeah, I mean, if you add more than 5, then you're a high chance in getting all of the 3 non-negotiables that we're looking for. But minimum of 5, just list them for that one. Question 2, I'll read out question 2. Broad consultation with other members of the organisation, from team members to senior management, is a good way to contribute to the success of operational planning. When in the planning cycle should it be carried out, and what outcomes would you be looking to achieve from this process?
Yep. So I guess if you're looking at this type of question, don't look too much into the question. I mean, I think it's really talking about the concept of consultation in terms of the success of an operational plan, and when should you begin your consultation process in an operational planning cycle. So when is it best to start consulting with team members and members of the organisation and senior management? Okay.
That's it. That's it. So when should you do that, and the second part is what outcomes are you looking to achieve in the process. So what are you hoping to achieve by consulting? Now, the word consultation is effectively the word communication, but it implies a two-way communication process. So if we're consulting with somebody, we're not just telling them something, we're really hoping to get something from them as well. Two-way chatter, if you like. So what are you trying to achieve by having that two-way conversation? So when would you have that two-way conversation, and what are you hoping that will achieve?
Yep.
Pretty straightforward question again. Similar sort of feeling for a lot of these sort of questions that students would have come up against in the past with some of the other subjects. So that one's, again, pretty similar. Question 3, why do budgets need frequent reviews and adjustments? Who is responsible for ensuring the budgets and other financial documents are accurate? And when creating financial reports, what sources of information need to be analysed? Okay, so question 3 is in 3 parts. Let's look at the first one. Why do budgets need frequent reviews and adjustments? So yep, just let us know why you feel budget needs to be looked at frequently, so regularly. Why do we have to look at it regularly and frequently and make some adjustments to it?
Yeah.
Answer that. Second part is who's responsible for ensuring that the budgets and other financials are accurate? So who's really responsible for the accuracy of the information that goes into any financial document? And the third part is when creating financial reports, what sources of information need to be analysed?
Yep.
So all financial reports tend to lean off each other, so to speak. There's not one report that covers everything in the world of finance. Everything is sort of comes from various different areas, and you put it together, and there are many, many different types of financial reports. The learning materials do cleanly and clearly refer to a range of different financial reports. So what we're sort of asking for you guys there is to give us a list of at least 3 to 5. Well, I'm looking for probably a minimum of 3. The materials give you a whole lot. 3 sort of financial reports, 3 areas, 3 sources of information that you'll be using for those financial reports. But bear in mind that some financial reports will rely on other financial reports. So if you provide us with 3 financial reports, so here's question 3. Why do budgets need a frequent review or adjustment? So why do we need to review budgets? Part 1. Part 2, who's responsible for the review? Part 3, where do we get our information from for financial reports? And so to answer that last one, just give me a list of some different financial reports that you may be using to gather financial info. Do you have a better way of, not a better way, but is that, how do you feel that that was explained in
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Just don't overcomplicate it too much. It's just really asking you those three elements, and then there is information in the learning resources that will really definitely help you with regards to financial reports and obviously sources of information there to be analysed. I guess it's hard for us to go into any more detail without giving answers away, because obviously the material does support some of these responses. So yeah, I mean, just simplify it. It's asking you for those three components to the question. So yeah, and make sure you're looking at your resource material too.
Yeah, have a look at the resources in section 3. Section 3 talks a lot about what we're looking for this particular question. Cool.
All right.
Assessment task number 2. Okay. Look at that. Number 1 already done. Students. Unbelievable. Question 2 is a nice easy one as well. So this is good. This is good.
Okay. I think
question 2 is also
2 questions.
2 questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Assessment task 2 is another 2 question set. So again, the 2 questions are listed for you, 1 and 2. That's the way we want to see it in your response. Just answer each question. Resources, question 1 is resources can mean many things when preparing an operational plan. What kind of resources might you have to plan for?
Yep.
So we can't really do much talking about this question because we just want you guys to list.
Yep.
And here it's just a list. So list different types of resources that you might have to plan for.
Yep. Absolutely. And again, I think in previous webinars we have talked a lot about the concept of resources and what resources are. So you know, previously you've also done a lot of assessments in other units of competency that really do get you to consider the different kinds of resources. So draw on that experience, draw on the experience and understanding of previous webinars and the material to be able to identify your resources. So yeah, without going into any more detail, without giving the answer away, it's hard, but just list them.
3 areas I'm looking for, at least 3 sort of key areas. I mean, if you list something in a particular area, that's fine. So it's hard to really give it away without saying, hard to say any more without giving it away. So see how you go with that one. It's a pretty straightforward question. Minimum of 3 resource areas, I guess you could say, and we'll be happy.
Yep.
Question 2. Today, more and more businesses understand that being successful is more than just economic performance, but it's also about the environment and social performance. They are aware that increasing use of the Earth's natural resources places a strain on the planet. Responsible businesses are therefore making every effort to ensure that they use resources efficiently. Here's where the question kicks in. What does the term resource efficiency refer to? First part of the question. What does the term resource efficiency refer to? Second part of the question, identify 5 things an organisation could do to reduce the amount of paper and energy used and wasted. So the second part of the question gives you a bit of a hint to the first part of the question, in fact. So 2 parts of this. Explain to us what is meant by resource efficiency. And then second, we want you to identify 5 things. When we say identify, it's not list and it's not describe. It's a combination of the 2. So these sorts of things pop up again from time to time. You don't have to go into full-on depth on the actual thing, on each of the 5 things, but you need to go into enough depth that we understand what you're talking about. So, don't just say something like power saving.
Yeah, or yeah.
So tell me what you mean by power saving. So if you give me a way that you can save power, well, that's perfect, right? That's a great thing that you can do to reduce the amount of paper and energy used and wasted. So yeah, be as specific as you need to be. If I need more information, I'll ask you back for it. Don't just list them, but don't go fully describing things. Just identify them. So if it's explained, if your answer explains what it is, then that's absolutely perfect.
Yep, absolutely.
Alice, would you like to add something to this one?
No, I mean, I think hopefully as well, I mean, if you're kind of not sure about some of the ways that organisations can reduce paper and energy, there's a lot of great material, there's a lot of great research points out there in the world of the internet. There are some really exciting things that organisations are actually doing in terms of this area and sustainability and resource efficiency. You know, so it's always interesting, if you're interested in this type of stuff, it's always interesting to have a read and see what some of the organisations are doing, because it's actually a quite important and very viable area of concern, some of this stuff. So again, if you're having trouble, you know, have a bit of a research, internet, Google, and you'll kind of see what some organisations are doing, which is really exciting.
Yeah, I mean, organisations refer to it as their carbon footprint.
Yep.
That's sort of the terminology that you know, all organisations are trying to minimise their carbon footprint. What they're trying to say is they're trying to just minimise how much effect that they're having, how much effect they're having on the actual Earth's environment, what sort of footprint that they're leaving on the Earth's environment as a result of their organisation. So they talk about that as, you know, minimising their carbon footprint, and that's probably more in relation to the actual environment. There are also social issues that you can actually talk about as well, which we're really, I guess, we're focusing here on the actual environmental issues. But you know, if you want to identify any sort of any social or anything you could do to improve the social performance of your organisation, then that's absolutely fantastic too. So, what, you know, I guess a good example of that are companies like Fair Trade that they're trying to demonstrate that they are, you know, caring about the treatment of all of the employees across the distribution chain, that they're not engaging in slave labour or horrible work conditions and things like that. So what they do is they check all of their distribution channels and they rubber stamp the companies that they engage with. So that's about having that care for that, you know, that social impact and that social sort of performance. So if you want to talk about anything that relates to the actual social impact, so something that your organisation can do, whether that might be to disclose certain information on your packaging of the product, whatever your product might be, that could be an example. Other things that you might do just to improve the, you know, I guess your social standing in the community, that's fine. For the most part, guys will probably look at this to come up with some ideas or identify some ways that they can just minimise their impact on the environment. But if you can also identify ways to improve your impact in the social performance, and that's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, cool. Can you hear me, Adam?
Assessment, I can hear you loud and clear.
Cool.
Yeah, assessment task 3 is the last one we've got to go through.
Yeah, lovely.
Do you want to lead the way on this one?
Yeah, of course. I will. I'm just going back to opening it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's have a quick squeeze. All right, now. Okay, now assessment task 3 is obviously, as you can still see here, it's a little bit different. So the assessment 1 has the 3 questions, assessment 2 has the 2 questions. Now assessment task 3 gives you a little bit of a scenario. So basically what's happening is you are responsible for developing an operational plan for your organisation. The strategic plan has already been written and sets the following direction for the coming year. So company strategic plan. Okay.
Here we go.
Yep, muted. That's all good.
No problem.
Company.
Do you want to highlight that? Sorry, Alyssa. Do you want to highlight the strategic goals? So
Yeah,
this is information that's given to students.
Yeah. So just here you've got Company A strategic plan, and our strategic goals for the coming year are, there's 4, is to expand our market share in the high-end, high price point luxury goods market, increase the proportion of our productive capacity devoted to the manufacture of luxury goods, become known as the premium luxury goods manufacturer in our product category, and become known as an employer of choice for highly skilled people. So they're the broad strategic goals for the coming year for Company A. Okay? So now here's where you come into play. Based on the above broad statements of intent, of strategic intent, so based on these 4 goals here, you are charged with developing an operational plan. So what you have to include is you have to include details of how it will be implemented and monitored. And for each strategy or goal outlined above, come up with 2 short statements describing an operational activity that could be implemented to achieve this. Your operational activities should reflect an understanding of the types of details included in an operational plan. So your operational activities should be accompanied by a budget, measurement, responsible person and timeline, and your activities might encompass manufacturing, sales, marketing, HR, or administrative responsibilities. There is a table attached to it, which I'll open up in a second, that will help you complete your plan. So you basically complete your table with regards to some of these comments here, and hopefully that'll get you through this particular assessment. Now, Adam, are you happy for me to open this table up and just show the guys?
Yep.
All right.
Here
we go.
This is the majority of the project. Now, didn't open for you?
No.
This happened last week. Remember when we were flipping this? Flip the screen back to my screen because I opened it before we came on air, so that we wouldn't have this issue.
Okay.
Flip the screen back to me.
Yep. Oh, yours.
Now, just so first webinar, we did a really good, probably the both of them actually, but we did a great bit on one of them on the link between a strategic plan and an operational plan. So the strategic plan is the high level stuff. It's the the senior management sit around. They come up with these ideas and directions. But the operational plan is really where the real work happens, because what we're doing is we're taking these goals and we're operationalizing them. We're making them real world. So if students can now see this table that we have here, there's an extra column missing, which should say budget. So we're going to try and get this fixed up before students see this form. But if you haven't, there's one column missing. You can either add it to it, or you can just put, in each spot, you can actually just put it in here. So what you'll see here is that there's 4 strategic goals that are given to you already. They're in the actual assignment. They are the 4 things that Alyssa highlighted before: expand the market share, become known as a premium manufacturer, become an employer of choice. They are our 4 things in here. 1, 2, 3, 4. What we're wanting you to do is come up with 2 operational activities, 2 things that you are going to get the business to do that will help us to achieve these 4 things that we've already given you. So you're just filling in the table. We've already given you these. This is up to you to be creative and go, okay, so we need to expand our market share in a high price point luxury goods market. Here's what we're going to do. Now, after you're telling us what you're actually going to do, so a short statement here goes in there, and that covers I think at some point on the assessment it says create a short statement. It says create 2 short statements for each goal. This table does that for you. So each box here, you're creating a short statement of that operational activity. That's done. Part of the assessment asks you how to measure, put a timeline and put somebody responsible. That's the rest of this table. So, and the only thing that was missing, as I said, was that budget. So if the budget's not there, you can just include it somewhere in your submission. When we say budget, is what we want to know is how much money is allocated to that activity, and that's all. So how much money you allocating to that activity? That's all you need to do. Budget. One of the main things that you want to see is how you're actually going to measure that activity. So the first goal is expand our market share in luxury. We know that. This part is up to you to be a bit creative and tell us how you're going to do that. This is how you're going to measure it. This is who is responsible, and this is the timeline. Don't forget to tell us the amount of dollars allocated to it. And that's that plan. The only other thing that's missing that you'll need is that you need to tell us implementation and monitoring. Is that correct, Alyssa?
Yep, implementation and monitoring, yeah, of those particular, let me just have a quick.
So there's 4 goals,
yeah,
and there's effectively, under each goal you have 2 different activities.
Yep.
What we want you to do is tell us how you're going to implement and monitor those activities. We already know what the activity is.
Yep.
We already know how we're going to measure it. We're going to measure it by running reports. We're going to measure it by getting feedback. You tell me how we're going to measure it. Here is telling us how you're going to monitor it and how it's going to kickstart, how we're going to implement it, so how we're going to get this baby going, and how we're going to keep an eye on it. once it's rocking and rolling. And just broadly and loosely, I mean, when I say broadly and loosely, you know, 1 or 2 sentences for each probably be okay. Alyssa, how about you?
Yeah, I've just got a plane coming over. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just a couple of sentences per per activity that you've highlighted in terms of implementation and monitoring. Yep.
So a couple of sentences here is fine. So we're not, this is, you know, the main part of it is this is the table. We want to see, you know, what activity, and really the way that we're looking at this is how well are you aligning your activities with the actual strategic goals. And that's the real key for this one. So, you know, if your operational activity is not aligned with the strategic goal, we're going to ask you to go back and have a look at it.
Yep.
If your timelines, budgets, or way of measuring that operational activity doesn't seem right, we're going to ask you to improve on it. So this is really about, you know, taking those goals and making them real world or making them real. And here it's just telling us, you know, just broadly speaking, a couple of sentences, how you plan on implementing and keeping an eye on that performance. And that's really it, guys.
Yeah.
So it's not a heavy project in terms of, you know, 2,000 words, 45 different subheadings, and we need you to research and do. There's not a lot of work in terms of volume, but there is a quality that we're looking for here, because what you're doing is you're effectively taking some really basic goals, some really basic instructions, i.e. increase market share or become known as a premium luxury good manufacturer, and you're making them real world. So that's, it's really, you know, what you're producing here is really high and high level clever stuff. It's not an incredibly large volume of work though. So yeah, anything that you'd like to add to this? Does anybody that's in the live feed today have any questions about this particular assessment or any of the ones that we've presented so far?
Yeah, just keep it nice and simple with this one, because you know, as Adam's already mentioned, everything is there for you. You just have to add those little bits about monitoring and implementation. So just try and not complicate it. It's quite yeah, everything's there for you. Oh,
yep, it is.
Adam, yep.
I've just passed the screen back to you. I hope that's okay.
Yeah, no dramas at all. I'll just share my screen. Oh, I just have to. You might have to make me the presenter.
Okay. Sorry, Tim. Yeah, I'm not sure how to do that. There we go. Let's try that.
Beautiful. All right.
Does that work?
Yep, perfect. So you should be able to be back on my screen now for that assessment.
Yep.
Beautiful.
Sounds good.
Yeah, lovely.
Okay. Cool. Sorry, guys. Yeah. So that's really it. It looks like there's a lot to it.
Yeah.
Remember, the first half of this question is just giving you the four strategic goals. Second half is asking for telling us how to implement and monitor, which is what we talked about, just a couple of sentences. The rest of it, for each strategy goal, 2 statements, and all of the other bits underneath it, that next sentence that says you've got to accompany a budget and measure, that's all in the table.
Yeah.
So all you need to do is fill out the table and then tell us how you're actually going to measure and, monitor and implement each of those activities. So there's 8 things there that you're talking about, 2 for each goal. And that's it, guys. So it's a quality of standard that we're looking for. We want to see some logic behind your choices.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's really it.
Yeah, I think that the biggest challenge will probably come in actually deciding what the 2 operational activities you'll be implementing for each of those strategic goals. I think, you know, that's kind of where the interest will lay and the creativity will lay, and I guess that's where Adam and I will be looking for quality responses in terms of what you're planning to do to be able to implement each of these goals.
Some projects, guys, it requires you to roll up your sleeves and just get in there and do some work. Some of them actually requires you to be a little bit creative and think outside the square and, you know, engage in that sort of a process. That's this one here. So this is one where you can pick it up, have a look at it, write down the 4 strategic goals, and put it down again. I would put the assessment down again. Don't sit there and go, okay, I'm going to get this done now, because it's a bit more of a creative one. We want you to think about it a little bit. How would you do it? You know, to maybe think about it in between driving to work or going here and there. And sit with this one for a little bit. There's not a lot of work that you need to do, but we need you to be a bit creative with this one. So spend a bit of time with it, give yourself a bit of space with it. So think about it, and then don't think about it, come back to it, have a chat to us about it, that sort of thing. So, cool. I think students will be okay with this one. I'm actually looking forward to seeing some of the submissions on this one. I think it's a great exercise, this one.
Mm.
It's a really well done
Yeah,
sort of activity that really gets the guys to think about how to make that, how to operationalize an idea, which is just perfect. So
yeah. It is nice and compact. It's covering all the things that it needs to do, and it's not too in-depth but it still goes about kind of getting you guys to kind of showcase to us your understanding of the unit.
Spot on.
Yeah.
Spot on. Well, I'm happy to wrap that up, guys. So that pretty much concludes our webinar here for the assessment support in Manage an Operational Plan. Just to remind you again, next week, the Diploma of Management students will have 2 subjects. They'll be the last 2 subjects, which will be continuous improvement and business documents. They'll be completed in 3 weeks' time. They'll be running on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And that's it, guys. So you really need to be at that sort of level or getting close to. So, yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
So, yeah, please just let us know how you go.
Yeah.
Good luck. And speak to Alyssa and I if you need any help. We can have a bit of a chat with you. We're not going to give you your answers, but we can at least bounce some ideas off with you and get you thinking about some additional things. So let us know how you go with this, and looking forward to seeing your submissions.
Yeah, absolutely. So we didn't have any questions at all from anybody? Everybody was okay with everything? Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay, great.
Thanks for your attendance, everybody.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Nice to see everybody. Thank you so much.
This subject. Thanks, guys.
Bye.